Welcome to Glowing Success. My name is Heidi and I am your host. This podcast is for beauty entrepreneurs. Join me weekly as we dive into the beauty industry's ins and outs, from business strategies, top-selling services, and taboo topics. I will be interviewing industry leaders with empowering stories and game-changing insights. Let's illuminate your path to success together. Let's jump into this next episode. Welcome back to Glowing Success. Today's episode is all about trust. So building that client trust and why it is so important. This is something that I wish I would have known a little earlier in my career. I wish I would have worked on a little earlier in my career and perfected. But I'm sharing this with you today because I want you to implement this as soon as possible. Okay? So when it comes to clients trusting you, or even drawing in your ideal client to trust you to do their service, it's very important to do a few things, right? So let's talk about the power of first impressions, right? So if you're disheveled and if you're kind of like all over the place and you're chatting or you're really quiet or things that are going to push away a client, obviously that's not going to be inviting. So we want to make sure that, not only is our appearance clean, of course, and how you want it to look, but your body language matters, right? So the things that you're kind of doing with your body, so you're not closing off and crossing your arms when you're talking to them, and you're, kind of opening up your body, so to speak, to, when you're talking to them. Also, what your online presence says about what your in-person presence is. Are they the same? Are you showing an online presence that's the same as your in-person presence? Are you consistent with that? And then, first impressions when it comes to communication, right? So how fast are you to communicate with somebody that reaches out to you? That's obviously a first impression as well. Are you within 24 hours? I feel like that's probably professional, as if you respond within 24 hours or within business hours. So the other way to build trust with your clients and build it quite fast is not only to be transparent, to be also solution focused. So transparency is really good when it comes to expectations of outcomes, right? So obviously if you're an esthetician, you're listening, this is kind of something that we go over a lot, as setting their expectations accordingly when you're doing like a facial series or anything like that. Not telling them they're going to get something they're not going to get, of course. So obviously being very upfront with things, and that builds that trust with that client really fast, because they're like, wow, she really told me exactly what to expect, or they really told me exactly what to expect, So that's really good. But obviously being solution focused, obviously telling that client, hey, I really want this result for you as well. This is what we're going to do to get that result. So being that solution focused really helps, because, you're putting their best interest in what you're saying and what you're treating and what you're doing with your regimen and the products you're recommending, the services you're recommending. So the client's going to see that and they're going to be like, wow, I really like this. I feel very taken care of. We're building that trust. So the other things I want to talk about is basically, there's other ways of building trust before a client even chooses you. So like, let's say social proof. So, or third-party validation, we also can call it sometimes. And basically that just means like Google reviews. So somebody else has given their stamp of approval on you, or testimonials, reviews, whatever you want to call it. You could do this in so many ways. Like Google reviews are great. It's easy. If you have a business, this is definitely something you should do, is open up your Google business page and start getting reviews. If you work for a spa salon or a business, you should just have your clients say your name in the Google review, and it'll pop up as well. But you need to be authentic with that, of course. So obviously tell people, hey, I want you to share your experience. Don't, tell them what to say. But you always are going to want to be engaging authentically with people in the social media realm. So if somebody sends you a message, obviously engage with them in a really authentic way of like, this is how I talk normally, and so forth. So obviously being professional, but being who you are as well, because that also builds trust, because they're like, oh, I know what to expect from this person. Or she is exactly how she sounds, or they're exactly how they're sounding in their videos, and so forth, because that's another thing. But when it comes to social media, I go on all these pages and I see all these beautiful before and after photos. I see all these beautiful videos of them doing their actual services. I see all these beautiful, really beautiful pages, but I don't see the person half the time. And I'm like, well, who is the service provider here? I see their name at the top. I see their business. I see about them, in their bio, but I don't see a person here. I don't see who's going to actually be performing my services. So I will say, if this is something that you're missing, and let's say like you're missing it, you did a video a long time ago, so it's really far down. Somebody would have to scroll really far down to see it. Maybe pin it to the top or do a new video. Say, hey, I've been getting a lot of followers recently. I wanted to reintroduce myself. My name is Heidi, da 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 da. So that's definitely one way that you can build trust. In person, you can build trust so many different ways. So if you're at a networking event, let's say, go up to people and meet them, greet them, shake their hand, or if you're not, comfortable shaking their hand, just say hi to a person. That courage that it takes to start a conversation, people see that and people are like, oh, well, this person came up to me and was like, started this conversation. They're going to remember that. So even if that person's not your ideal client, let's say, they might know somebody who is. And if you met them and they, let's say, follow you on social media, or you give them a business card, or however you stay connected to them, that impression that you left with that person now is going to stick with them, right? And so that person's like, wow, okay, I'm going to recommend them to my friend or whoever just asked about it. So that's one way in person. Another way you could do it is, pop-up events, things like that. So anytime you do marketing in person, you really just want to be the person that's starting the conversation, the person that is introducing yourself, the person that, that really exudes confidence. And so therefore that person, when they're listening to you or introducing, you're going to seem like, okay, I really do want to trust this person. And wow, like I want to know more about this person. I want to know more about their services. But really why it's important is because if you think about how you choose a service, so if you're hearing about a service from a friend or a family member, or even online on social media, let's say an ad pops up for your area, a sponsored post, or if you're on Google, let's say that happens to, what makes you decide to go to that person? Say, I really think that, okay, this person's going to take care of my skin. Let's say you're going for acne. Acne is very troubling. You don't want just anybody touching your skin. How are you going to choose that person? Like, what are those deciding factors? So these are some ways that people can, build that trust faster. And it's very important because it does make it a little bit faster for that person to decide to book with you. Because when a person goes on your page, let's say in social media, or goes on your Google page, and they're deciding to choose you, there has to be a couple things that go through their brain. And generally, it's an emotional thing that makes us decide something. So that emotional trust is where it's at. And so that's why I wish I would have known this much earlier on in my career, because it really focuses your marketing in, and you can really benefit from it by having a lot of people book with you a lot faster and make those decisions faster, because you'd be surprised of how often people go across information and then just pass it off, right? But you want that person to sit there and think about it and press that button to book or call you or however you like people to schedule with you. You want to make it easy for that emotional decision to be made. Because at that point, they're going to book that appointment and they're already in the door. So when they're already in the door and they're already at that appointment, it's much easier to make them feel comfortable. It's much easier to, get to know them and build that rapport, because that's also a way to build trust. It's much easier to hopefully get them coming back in the door. But that getting them to your door, getting them to book, is very hard. And that's really where your first hurdle is when it comes to marketing. And so building that trust a lot faster and in tailoring your marketing to build that trust a lot faster is really where the key component is. So I hope you can take some of this and apply it today and build that trust much faster with your clients. Thank you for listening. I hope you liked that episode and found something useful or a tip that you can use immediately. Don't forget to download my free marketing checklist, which is in the show notes. And my episodes come out weekly, so I'll see you in the next episode.